So, I started this TED Talk journey with the following question. Why does so much contemporary art look alike? This is a feeling that arose from visiting many museums, galleries, and art fairs. As I strolled through the exhibitions and gallery booth presentations, it all seemed to blend together. Maybe you felt the same way. High contrasts, sleek designs, shiny and reflective surfaces, a flurry of images of people, landscapes, assemblages mixed with man-made and natural materials, destroyed red cars, tongues, leaning sticks. You might even find mine right over there. Some will say these are trends in contemporary art, things that we collectively produce in a given time, consciously or subconsciously. But I was certain there was a more nefarious, bad actor in the midst of all this seemingly homogenization of art, capitalism, or at least the art market. If something is profitable, others will attempt to replicate it, to model, to make the same or even higher profits. This is why we see franchises that are found globally of Starbucks and McDonald's, even here at our school. It's the same idea that we have when we can find the same product no matter where we go, just a flurry of nuggets and lattes. But if it's the market that's making art look the same, where might I find something different? One may assume within the sanctity of the museum, the chapels for art, protectors from market forces. The idea, though, yet seemed wrong. Museums seem to circulate the same kind of blockbuster artists who are represented by the top galleries who also happen to show in those art fairs. It feels blasphemous, seeing capitalism so blatantly take over the museum, and yet at the same time obvious. Obvious because this is what capitalism seems to do, or at least the effects of neoliberalism. I even proposed this TED Talk title, Neoliberalism in Art, the Global Whitewash. And neoliberalism refers to market-oriented reforms, things that are deregulating capital markets, lowering trade barriers, removing price controls. The policies here are what actually permitted the proliferation of corporations to spread globally. This is why we see a subway in 104 different countries. Whitewashing, in this context, refers to everything looking the same. This was a feeling and assumption that I had when looking at contemporary art. That it too was affected by the global economy, where artists are just making what the market dictates, and thus all looking too similar, because it's profitable. Certain colors, certain sizes, certain messages, all easily consumable, different places, same great taste. However, I knew this was just a feeling, an assumption that grew from the distasteful reaction and seeing how much money actually influences art. When I shared this feeling with others, inside and out of the art world, they all nodded in agreement. The feeling was mutual. Everything looks the same. And yet, maybe it's because of these new capitalistic economic policies. It might be this new phenomenon onset by greed. That was my assumption. And almost conviction. And yet, I feel like I wasn't seeing something. I had to challenge my own assumptions to see and determine if it was just me or if indeed there are nefarious players afoot. So, I set out to see where there is diversity ingrained in the programming, and that's at the Venice Biennial. For the past 127 years, the Venice Biennial has invited artists from around the world. Countries send out their finest artists to represent their nation. It's the Olympics of the art world. No sales, no fashion collections, no markets. In my eyes, it was the last bastion of the art world, protected from the influence of capitalistic tendencies. Needless to say, on my way there was no Starbucks, yet I did see a KFC, and that was already a pretty bad omen. Will I see the same I saw everywhere else? Will the 213 artists from 58 countries show me the same type of art that I saw in Mexico City and New York? Surely, from this large sample of artists, I would have more variety. And to some degree, there was. And yet, at the same time, no. I saw the same of the same. Same of the same. There were so many more bold exhibitions out there, for sure. And yet, there were so many more works like I've seen before. Similar colors, formats, topics. Most of these works in the Venice Biennial are actually commissioned for the event, meaning that they have no market incentive. They're not going to be sold. But, so then I have to come back and ask and question my assumption. Is it the cultural effects of neoliberalism that's making everything similar? Or is it something else? Something else that's making contemporary art look alike? Perhaps market forces have some effect on the decision of artists. But perhaps there's something older and more profound than neoliberalism that is driving contemporary art to homogenization. Perhaps this perceived global whitewashing of art is not driven by money at all. Perhaps a lot of contemporary art looks alike just because simply we are all unoriginal. When it comes to the arts, including writing, there's no dirtier word than unoriginal. And artists aspire to stand out of the crowd, to be seen and acknowledged for our originality. To be called unoriginal or derivative is the ultimate offense, right? Students are expected to come up with original ideas for essays and teachers for TED Talks. But the blatant truth is very little can be considered original. Now, many of you probably already accept this idea. It's very unoriginal for me to say that nothing is original, right? Even making a TED Talk of unoriginality is unoriginal, as you can see. Kirby Ferguson, he was the creator of Everything is a Remix, a video that was presented on YouTube, millions of views. He gave his TED Talk back on nothing being original in 2012, right? So why do I still think this is an idea worth spreading? Well, it's because I believe this is something that we have not accepted into our core, especially as creators. There are two common situations that occur in my art classroom that diminishes a student's desire to make more art. There's probably a lot more. But one of them being that when they have produced something and then they see someone else had made it, they're like, why bother? Or they come up with an idea and then they saw someone else already made it. Why bother? Matt Stone and Trey Parker eloquently stated how all of their laughs and gags and jokes that they made have already been done by The Simpsons. Simpsons already did it. The creative frustration to find something new to say and to feel relevant and original haunts most creators. It becomes a stifling obsession to the point of procrastination, to not making anything at all. Why bother? It's already been done. This feeling of inadequacy due to perceived lack of originality is what keeps most and some creators from taking action a lot of the time. The fact is, everyone is making something that feels like, sounds like, looks like, reads like someone else's. This is inevitable due to the sheer quantity of creative works that have been made since the dawn of humans. It's also more than likely now than ever that we will either consciously or subconsciously take on the ideas of others and try to make them as our own just because of our simple access to vast knowledge, the internet. We have to accept this point to our core so it does not diminish our desire to create more. But you may wonder, how do you accept that you are unoriginal? Move on and get back to work. Why bother if everything else has already been done? I have two responses for this question. Okay? The first is a technical approach. Back to Kirby Ferguson's basic elements of creativity, right? This is where you copy, transform, combine. The final step is the most necessary one to reach something similar to an idea of originality. It's a good process. The second is a conceptual approach. Even though you have an idea for an artwork, and the way it will look may be automatically unoriginal, the very fact that it comes from you makes it unique. It's your voice, your hand, your influence on the work that ultimately makes it original. And for that very reason, you should make it. Because there is no one else in this world besides you, right? Your original or unoriginal work ultimately becomes original because it came from you. So, in my quest to find a conspiracy to make everything look the same for more profits, I've come to a more lucid realization that we are just simply unoriginal. And that is a good thing to accept. It can free you from helplessly seeking to do something else and to encourage you just to make the work. Reevaluate your own assumptions, that if everything has been done, it does not mean you don't have something meaningful to say. So, get to work. Thank you.